Today, Liss and I are going to pick up where we left off from our final episode, where we're talking about grief, loss, trauma, coping, lifing.
Welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. If you are new here, you are most welcome. I am Liz. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. If you watch the first section, we left off at individuation. Liss was sharing about how when we must stand on our own, in our own footsteps, making our own strides in life, becoming our own individual, sometimes means that we have embraced the the loss of a loved one and have incorporated the beautiful aspects of that person and what they gave to us into our experience. I think that's probably the greatest honor that I could possibly give my loved ones. And immediately when you were sharing that, of course, I was thinking of my beloved sister because she was such a bright spark of sunshine. And ultimately, for me, the epitome of love and care and nurturing and joy. Her laugh was infectious. She had the kind of energy that people were drawn to unexplainably. So the thought of bringing that into my experience, bringing that into who I am is actually really making my heart sing, which is odd when we think about losing a loved one and the loss associated with them not being in our lives anymore. But what if that individuation is the whole point that a lot of us miss? That I know for a fact if she could sit before me right now and say, "This is what I want for you," it's absolutely what she would want for me to laugh and have fun and be outside and just glow with love because that's who she was and that's what she did. And thank you for that because it really although it has been probably 40 years since I've seen her face and heard her laugh, it really brings a smile to my face to remember her again and not look back with pain, not look back with heartache and trauma, but with joy.
I read such a beautiful quote just the other day. It was on my post feed on YouTube. It comes from something called The Art of Poets. And apparently it's an ancient proverb, but I've never heard it. And I think this will be especially meaningful for you, Hun, having just come out of a really long, cold winter. The quote was, "When we refuse to find joy in the snow, we have no joy and the exact same amount of snow." And for me, that was really wow. In terms of the grief process, learning how to find the joy in all our grief, to not reject that, to not push that one side and think we just have to grieve, but to come back to that joy, even if it hurts, to remember everything that was wonderful and beautiful and special and incredible about the person we're grieving. It's okay to have joy in the snow. It's okay to remember everything that was positive and wonderful while we're sad about the loss. And I think the more we do that, the more we remember what was special and beautiful and wonderful about our person, the more we can integrate and become those qualities ourselves, and thereby help the grieving process to resolve itself, because we have become that which we perceive ourselves to have lost. It was very meaningful to me to learn to view the grieving process that way, personally.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Although my season didn't unfold quite that same way. Um, I agree that at some point, I feel it's kind of required that we do tap back into that joy. Um, the season for me was, again, it was very strange and disorienting. And for the first time in my life, I didn't reject it. I didn't try to shut it down. I didn't put it in a box, on a shelf, in a closet, never to be heard from again. I almost felt like I had no choice but to just sit in the pain that I had refused to feel countless times with all of the other goodbyes. And it might sound a little sadistic. It might sound a little self-abusive, but what was interesting is shortly after my mom did transition out of body, I started experiencing all kinds of physical pain, and I don't typically have pain. Like I'm grateful to say, outside of the last several months, I I'm not a person who has pain, and boy, did I have pain. So again, instead of running from the pain or masking the pain or medicating the pain, I just sat in it and often would ask, "What do you have to say? I hear you. You are making yourself known. What do you have to say?" And the same with a lot of the tears. There were many mornings I woke up with, gosh, the darkest black cloud that sat on my body like a weighted blanket. I was shocked. I was surprised at so many unfoldings throughout the weeks and months that I simply sat with it and had a little bit of curiosity with it. Like, wow, I did not expect this. I don't know what to do with this. You tell me, pain. What are you telling me? You tell me, tears, what's happening here? And once in a while I would hear a little something now and again, but ultimately I think it was just for me the willingness to sit down, be quiet, and feel. I was never willing to do that before because it was just insurmountable. And even though there were plenty of days that it felt insurmountable, um, it wasn't. Here I am. I still had that curiosity of questioning, wow, what is this pain about? What are these feelings about? What is that darkness about? What is on the other side of this? Because this is, some days this was awful. And I was very curious what it was all for and what was going to emerge on the other side of it. And I think you just articulated that on the other side of it can be that joy again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, hun, as difficult as it is, we do just have to allow ourselves to go through what we're going through. That's really all we can do. You know, I see what we do here in these conversations with each other, and I hope that our shining love lights in our audience experience this too when they watch our content. I think what we do here is try to provide some coping with life tools. And when it comes to something so profound as loss and trauma and grief, I think just allowing ourselves to go through what we feel And to the best of our ability, not suppressing that, not trying to distract ourselves from that, coping with that as best we can is is really all we can do. You know, I couldn't really sleep for probably the first 3 or 4 months after my granny died. I had the most horrific nightmares reliving what her and I had gone through for those 6 weeks in which she was fighting to still be here. And I would have terrible nightmares, and I would wake up in the vivid physical experience of that. And I had to just allow myself to be that traumatized. But then by the same token, I had to discipline myself to use the tools that I know work. So forcing myself to listen to guided meditations so that I could relax, forcing myself to do breathing exercises so I could calm my nervous system down, forcing myself to get up and clean the house and take care of myself. All these things that shouldn't have to be an effort, but they are when we're processing through something really, really difficult. It's about recognizing that sometimes we just have to allow ourselves to be going through what we're going through and let it be. And then, yes, allow it to show us what it has to show us, teach us what it has to teach us. I always knew that I was very, very strong, and I am, but physically, not that much. I've been very ill throughout my life, and I didn't think that I had the physical strength to be able to physically care for my granny. And yet for 6 weeks I did. It was an unbelievable strain some days, but I did. And I don't think anyone in my life expected me to be able to be physically strong enough to do it either. And so that in and of itself was an incredible experience. What was also an incredible experience was to witness my husband in this. He had a beautiful and a really close relationship with my granny for the last 37 years that we've been together. She was his granny too. And he just adored her, and he did so much for her. And my husband is an incredibly loving soul. But I got to witness a version of his love for my granny and for me that I'd never experienced before. And what a gift and a blessing that was. It was so beautiful that if I talk about it too much, I'm going to cry. That was such a gift. Getting to live and experience that version of his love for both me and her. I'll treasure that always. And learning to find those little moments of beautiful memories in between all the flashbacks of the trauma. Those little moments of beautiful memories. As sick as she was, she gave us so many moments where we laughed and we shared and we were joyful in spite of her confusion and her pain and how sick she was. And I'll treasure those memories too forever. So like all things in life, honey, no matter what we go through, there is a gift, usually many of them. And the loss and grief and even trauma process contains them too, miraculously.
I agree. Even on, well, maybe especially on the most challenging days, I found myself asking, how is this for me? Where is the gift here? What is this showing me? And you talked about coping skills, and sometimes it's just taking a shower. Sometimes it's reaching out to a friend. I mean, you and I had such a similar experience in almost exactly the same time. We were both in October, just a couple of weeks apart, just, having a friend to lean on. But I think what I would want to share with anyone, the most important thing I think when we lose someone and we're feeling that devastation, I think My greatest message would be we have to remember that the only thing that is permanent is change. This too will change. This too will pass, even though it feels like it never will. Even though it feels like we just, some days we don't know how we're going to hit that shower or how we're going to do that load of laundry or how in the world am I going to care for all of my kids or all of these things that are completely normal to wonder. How are we possibly going to do it? I think the thing that helps me the most is knowing that this is temporary. It's not fun, but the more that I can flow with it and not resist it, the more that I can remember that even though that was a really long winter, it's just a season of my life, and there will be another side to this. I don't know when, I don't know how,
Mm.
but one step in front of the other, knowing that this is temporary, it can help motivate somebody to get out of their chair and go take a shower. Go eat a nice warm bowl of soup.
Mm.
It's part of just coping to get through the day sometimes. And it's okay if all you can do that day is take a shower and make yourself some soup. That's an accomplishment. Be proud. You won. This episode is brought to you by Root Wellness. Root was developed by an award-winning scientist and inventor, and these unique patented formulas are designed to support the body's natural abilities to remove toxic burden, support cellular repair, and promote whole body wellness. I'm showing you these three in particular because these truly are my three favorites that I have been using for a couple of years now. On the Root website, you'll also find books, you'll find formulas for your pets, and you'll even find a pre-detoxed fair trade coffee. To learn more about Root Wellness and the products on their website, visit the link below in the show notes.
Exactly. Exactly. There's no wrong way to do this. There's no prescription for how you should be going through this or how long it should take. None. There's no wrong way to do this. We all just need to give ourselves the grace to go through these experiences the best way that we can, the best way that we know how, with the tools that we have. And if that is a mountain of chocolates, go for it. There's no right or wrong way or prescription for a period of time to do this. And one of the things that I've always said is that whatever we go through in life, we go through to grow through. And recently, I've kind of changed that up a little bit because, we don't just have to go through it. We can flow through it. We can flow through it to grow through it. And to me, that just sounds like less of an effort. That sounds like less of a struggle. You know, whatever we happen to be going through, can we let ourselves flow through it? No resistance. It is what it is today. I mean, I don't know about you, hun, but today is only the second time in the last 9 months that I've got a full face on. I haven't felt like looking like anything. I haven't felt like makeup. So I haven't done it. But sooner or later, we have to get back on the bike, right? And it's like we both spoke and we were like, we need to just get back to doing this or we're not going to. So there does come a time where you just got to force yourself over that little hump, force yourself to put that face on, even if you don't feel like it. And then now we're sitting here having this conversation, and what a blessing it feels like for me just to be able to be actually expressing this and sharing this in this platform the way that we do. I hope you're experiencing it the same way.
I am. I'm grateful to share the invitation to go through grief. I think the misconception for so many people when it comes to grief is that we have to get over it. That was my misconception when I was young. And I could not figure out how to get over the loss of my sister. And if somebody would have just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, honey, you're never going to get over it. You just have to get through it." I probably would have been able to shift my perspective a little bit, thinking, "Oh, there isn't anything wrong with me because I can't get over this. I just have to figure out how to get through this and flow with it because I was fighting against it."
Mm.
And I can honestly tell you with all of the losses that I had in my life that were behind a door I didn't even know existed until my mom was gone and that door got flung open. And to really sit in all of that grief and all of that trauma and not run from it and not push it away and not deny it was really it was a tremendous gift. It wasn't fun, but I just didn't have it in me to fight one more loss. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that and to be able to share that because I know our experiences are really not all that unique. Like you said, it's a universal experience. Yes, the details are a little different. The feelings are a little different, but ultimately, loss is loss. When you lose a loved one, it's not fun. But we don't have to also get lost inside of that. If we just,
Mm.
like you said, allow it to, um, I don't know, fertilize us, let us grow into a version of ourselves we didn't know before. We didn't even know that we weren't. We didn't even know was possible. And I'm grateful to be able to share that piece that I I didn't even know was a piece until my mom passed, and it just started to unfold, and I just went along for the ride.
Because that is exactly the thing, isn't it? Every new experience of loss brings up every previous loss experience that we didn't fully process. It does. And that can be really, really hard. It's like, my granny just died. Why am I missing my mom? That's crazy. No, it's not. Whatever aspects of that loss were not fully processed, fully acknowledged, fully integrated, the new loss is going to bring that up. So whether it's pets, people, or something personal, every loss tends to bring up all the ones that have gone before. And especially in terms of the the phase of guilt, which doesn't just come once, get worked through, and then go away and you move on to phase two. It doesn't work like that. We two steps forward, one step back. But in terms of guilt specifically, bless us, we're trying to cope with it. It is literally our way of convincing ourselves that this whole experience is not out of our control. That, if only I had known this, or if only I had done that, or if only this sooner, or that later, or this differently. It's our brain's attempts at control. And the crazy part is that we can know that. Cognitively, we can know that. We can know that we're doing that. And it doesn't shift an ounce of the guilt that we feel. So again, we have to just allow that emotion to be what it is. And like you say, move through it. Move through it, flow through it as gracefully as possible. Flow through those feelings. They do eventually dissipate if you're not resisting them.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section.
Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.